And now for the third part of building trainings. So far we talked about starting from scratch with a roll of paper and a couple of markers on the floor, which is my standard way. Then last week I mentioned something about the hero's journey and how I incorporate the hero's journey into the design of the training so that the participant is the hero of the story. And today is the next element, which is the relationship between the trainer and the participant. So the first thing, and this is from a great talk by Mr. Russell Ackoff, who is one of the gurus of systems thinking, is that the way I like my trainings is that there is a whole lot of learning and not a lot of teaching, or rather, no teaching, but a lot of learning. So I see my role as this sort of mentor or facilitator in the process, and to design the training in a way that supports that sort of learning and discovery process on the behalf of the participant. So in terms of the actual dynamics between the participant and the trainer, that means three things for me. The first thing is the sort of sandbox or laboratory approach, which makes the training a sort of a test environment or a safe space, if you wish, even though it has all kinds of connotations right now, but it's sort of a test environment where you can rapidly prototype approaches, solutions, and trying on new things, trying and doing things differently. So to give you an example, with this laboratory, there is myself and, for example, my co-trainer who act almost as if we're there to communicate to the participant. We see you, we hear you, we care. The biggest element of the whole thing is actually we care. But ultimately, it's a sandbox where the participant can test, can try, and can see and expand and, just sort of test out new things. The second aspect of that relationship is being the sparring partner. So as the participant progresses through the process, it's challenging them, it's pushing them, but again, in that sort of environment where they can test and they can fail again and again and again. And this being a sparring partner comes from some sort of a humble, I would say, understanding that the main thing the participant needs is an increase in courage or an increase in confidence in a particular area. And I can't give them that. But what I can give the participant is the space where they get to practice courage and where they get to see themselves succeed despite the failures, but succeed again and again and again. So this is the space where they get to practice courage, and through this they become more confident. So part of the challenges they go through is actually interactions with me. I am part of those challenges while being a sparring partner or a sounding board. And the third thing, and this is something that's very personal to me as well, is that while going through that whole process and creating this sort of support environment, and being the person who pushes constantly, also being the participant's biggest fan. And the way I imagine this is that if the participant is on stage, I would be that person in the front row, clapping and screaming and shouting and going, yes. And genuinely believing and knowing what they're capable of, genuinely believing in them and knowing what they're capable of. So those are the three aspects that I think about when designing the training, and the dynamics between myself as a trainer and the person who's participating. So the first one is creating this test environment where the participant can rapidly prototype. So sort of a safe space, a sandbox, a laboratory. The second aspect is the dynamics between myself and the participant, which is being their sounding board or being their sparring partner, depending on the aspect. So sort of being a challenge and increasing the difficulty. And then the third aspect is actually being their biggest fan. And what I mean here is that also having an appreciation for the fact that the participants can only choose to change or to approach or to take on new behavior on their own. And I'm sort of there to guide them through the process. But the only way I would encourage them to transform or to change is by creating an environment where I really care. And that's the third aspect, which is being the biggest fan. So whenever I take on people and I work with people, especially on one-to-one basis, but also in trainings, depending on the duration, the aspect of care is one of the basic aspects of building the training. And what that means in practice, well, you'll have to keep checking on my little websitey channel thing here to see what comes up next in terms of training building. Next week we'll talk a bit more about the actual modules and how I approach putting together the content. Bye.